Welcome back, everybody. Today's video is going to be a shard tier list for all the heroes in 7.34e. Since we're all waiting for the new patch to be coming early next year, I figured it was a good time to establish where each hero stands in regards to the power of their shards. So when I talk about a hero shard, what really stands out for me about the metrics we should be measuring is how often this hero buys it, how early they buy it, and also how impactful the shard is or game-changing it is for the hero that gets it. So we're going to be going in alphabetical order, one by one, rapid fire, straight down to brass tacks. Let's go ahead and get into it. So first, we got a bat. His shard makes it so that his Q does damage to the enemy on impact. I think this is a shard that is only good for core Abaddon, which means it automatically doesn't get bought that often, since half the time this hero gets played as a support. When it's bought as core, it's usually like fourth, fifth item. So I'm going to go with this one being a D tier shard. Next up, we got Alchemist, who throws a potion on himself or an ally that gives attack speed as well as health regen. And what I would say about this is, since it is a basic dispel, it adds a little bit to Alchemist's kit. Since his ultimate also supplies a basic dispel, it helps him get out of Spirit Vessel and other type debuffs, and also can be used for silences on allies like a Lotus Orb. So because it's more of a selfless item and Alchemist is usually a selfish hero, I'm going to still put it around a C tier shard. And for Ancient Apparition, it makes it so that his Ice Blast now cold feats them for 60% of the duration. This is a nice shard, and it gets it often from the Tormentor, and you don't feel bad about getting it, but there's nothing super special about it in the sense that usually whether or not Ancient Apparition kills you is based on if his ultimate hits in the first place. So it does make his ultimate impact more impactful, but it isn't game-changing by any means, so I'd also put this in C tier. Anti-Mage's shard has similar vibes to Alchemist in the sense that it's a shard that can be used as a buff for one of your teammates. It gives counterspell to one of them, so maybe it allows for some high-skill plays, but let's be honest, Anti-Mage is just going to be split pushing, killing creeps while you lose your base, and he won't be using this on you. So I'll also put this in D tier. For Arc Warden, his shard makes it so that his magnetic field pushes enemies out of it and grants magic resistance to allies that are within it. I've seen this shard very rarely be impactful, and I don't see Arc Wardens picking it up very often early, and they only once they have all their slots filled. So because it seems decent utility, but nothing special, and this hero will usually have money to buy it later, we'll put it in C tier. Axe's shard is a shard that makes it so he places a stacking debuff on enemies every time he counter helixes them. Well, they will do 15% less attack damage, and he also has no cooldown on counter helix. So what I'll say about this shard is that in theory, it's really nice. If you call 4 heroes, they're all gonna do absolutely 0 damage, but by that point in the game, you're usually taking no damage during call. It does synergize well with Blade Mail, but it's another shard that you're really not picking up unless it's super late in the game, so we'll put this also in C tier. Bane's shard makes it so Brain Sap is now an AoE ability. Most notably, this gives him wave clear when he previously did not have it. So simply because it does change that dynamic of the hero, but other than that, it's not game breaking, I would still put it in B tier because it solves a problem that a hero had, and it also is really good against a lot of his counters, which are illusion heroes. Bat Rider shard makes it so that Flaming Lasso no longer disarms you, and every other attack you apply a stack of sticky napalm. This is kind of a gimmicky shard. It used to be really good when it applied to Manta, but nowadays I feel like I very rarely see this. Sometimes Bat Riders will try to be cute and they'll go like Witchblade plus Moon Shard and try to solo kill you, but I think it's kind of a meme, and I'm going to put it in D tier. Beastmaster shard reduces the Hawk cooldown by 10 and also summons an additional Hawk. I think the Hawk's been heavily nerfed patch after patch, which every time that happens, that means his shard gets worse. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in C tier because it is a pretty good shard, but Hawk as an ability feels underwhelming compared to what it used to be. Bloodseeker shard makes it so that every attack he does 1.8% of the enemy's max health damage as pure damage and heals him for the same. It's a pretty core ag shard on Bloodseeker, and you see it sometimes as early as like 3rd item, and it also gives him the sustain that he desperately needs. So I'm going to put it in the B tier due to the fact that he does buy it sometimes really early, but even then late game, and it still has high impact. Bounty Hunter shard allows him to cast his invisibility on his allies, and it also does not break his invisibility. I think it's also kind of a gimmick. I'd put it in C tier because it does give the hero another component of his kit, but by no means are you not buying detection against Bounty Hunter already because he's Bounty Hunter. The Brewmaster shard increases Primal Split's duration and allows it to be canceled early. This used to be super broken because it also allowed you to choose which panda you went to, which means he could siege your base and then have his wind panda be running away. But now I think it is a nice shard, but by no means is a game breaking like it used to be, so we'll also put this in B tier. Bristleback shard allows him to use a new ability called Hairball, which applies 2 goo stacks and 1 quill stack. Back when Bristleback was broken, shard was even more broken, but but it's still an absolutely essential item for bristlebacks to buy, and they usually buy it sometime between 15 and 25 minutes. And because it's so essential, because they're buying it early, and because it is such a powerful shard, I'm going to put it in A tier. Broodmother shard is situational, but when it's good, it is really good. If Broodmother is being built as a right-clicking universal hero with like Harpoon and Manta, this damage over time from her insatiable hunger stacks up real quick and makes it so that she hits like a truck. So we're going to put this in B tier because in theory, in the right build, I'd say it's A or S tier, but you're not going to want to build that way every single game on Broodmother. Centaur shard is pretty insane once you get Heart of Tarask. He can get like 8,000 HP with 2 items. And so I'd say this is an amazing snowball item, and it's only good if you go for Heart of Tarask. But if you get to that point, Centaur might become unkillable. So I'm going to put this shard in B tier. Chaos Knight shard is insanely strong because it allows him to potentially assassinate supports from really long range because his illusion does buttloads of damage. If you combine it with items like Bloodthorn, you have a silence, a disable, and a ton of damage to boot. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in A tier. Chen shard is absolutely core every single game. And the fact that he can now take agents for such a cheap price, I believe this is an absolutely essential and game-breaking shard, and I'm going to go ahead and put Chen's shard in S tier. Clinks' shard gives him an ability he used to have and doesn't really utilize anymore in the way he likes to play. He's much more of an assassin burst hero, and this is much more of a wave clear farming ability that you don't need at 15 minutes. You would have needed it earlier. So we're going to go ahead and give it a D tier. Next up, we got Clockwork. The jetpack, it's a good meme, and it's also pretty good. Allows him to get out of his cogs, allows him to scout, and also allows him to escape away after engaging, so I'm going to go ahead and give him a B tier on that shard. When Crystal Maiden's shard got reworked to what it currently is, it was kind of a meme, but it's been buffed several times, gives her extra wave clear, and also gives her a little bit of disjoint action. Nothing amazing, but I think it's still solid, so I'd put it in C tier. Darkseer shard, I would say, is largely underwhelming. It's kind of like Firefly for Batrider. And even though sometimes it can be nice to like cancel blinks and prevent people from chasing you, overall, I'd give it a low C tier shard. I'd say Dark Willow shard offers a little bit of utility to her third spell, but by no means is it anything amazing. Go ahead and give it an all-around average of a C tier shard. For Dawnbreaker shard, it gives her debuff immunity, and it used to be even better when it was straight up magic immunity because of the fact that if somebody stunned you during this, you could dodge it effectively by soaking the stun. But now when you come out of it, you will be stunned unless you directly BKB. So it's still really essential for getting your Starbreaker off and hitting targets, but it's not nearly as broken as it used to be. So I'm going to put it at an upper B tier shard. Dazzle shard used to be like a B tier shard, but now that he has his ultimate the way it is, and you can just spam your Q nonstop, perma-stunning people as long as you're not getting initiated onto, I'd put Dazzle shard in upper A tier. Death Prophet shard's been nerfed numerous times, and even though it's still nice to get in the late game, it feels like her Spirit Siphon is not nearly as powerful since it's no longer percent HP damage, and the Fear is all right, but it's not game breaking by any means, so we'll put it in upper C tier. Disruptor shard seems like one of the most controversial shards. Some people are like, man, this is so underrated, but the majority of people are saying, man, this thing's freaking garbage. I would say that overall, this is a D tier shard because it's not that impressive, and for a lot of supports that are getting picked right now, since they're getting shards from Tormentor, Disruptor is one of those that you don't feel like changes the game in comparison to a lot of the others. For Doom, I feel like his shard really has no place. I feel like the heal is kind of random that stage of the game. He's either dooming you and you're dying or not. So I don't really see him as like a sustain hero in the mid to late game. So I don't think his shard has a place. And we're going to go ahead and put it in the F tier. DK shard is really nice utility. Gives him wave clear when his ultimate's on cooldown. And it also gives him a little bit of extra burst damage to follow up his stun. Overall, a solid shard. We'll go ahead and put it in B tier. For Drow shard, Suns fan may hate me here, but it overall feels like it's only good if you're sieging base or defending your base, and in which case that doesn't go till very late in the game, and even then it's nothing amazing. So I'm going to put Drow shard in D tier. Sorry, Suns fan. For Earth Spirit, it makes his geomagnetic grip now a save. It's not as important on core Earth Spirit, but on support, it's absolutely game-breaking to give a hero that didn't previously have a save, a reliable save. So we're going to go ahead and make this a lower A-tier shard because of how game-breaking it is, but Earth Spirits don't always buy it. Earthshaker shard is pretty nice. It's good utility. It's better on support Earthshaker who's sitting in the back. And since we're not seeing too much Earthshaker support right now, it's more so a core hero. For 7.34E specifically, I would put Earthshaker shard in lower C tier. Elder Titan's a hero hero we really don't see at all in the current patch, and his shard seems cool that it allows him to teleport, but at the same time, if I don't see it happening very much, and there's barely any ETs in the games in the first place, and his shard does not seem like that exciting, I'm going to go ahead and put it in upper D tier. Ember Spirit shard is really nice for scouting out areas as well as killing creep waves, so it's overall nice utility, but nothing amazing, so we're going to go ahead and put it in upper C tier. Enchantress shard gives her mobility, extra damage, and overall is just really nice utility, so we're going to go ahead and give it an upper B tier shard. Enigma shard gives him extra wave clear by summoning his Eidolons on top of creeps, and it also gives him the ability to scout you out when you're getting Malefist. So overall, decent utility, nothing special. We'll put it upper, or actually we'll put it in lower B tier. Basis Void shard is probably one of the most common shards built on a carry. Sometimes they buy it as early as right after BKB, sometimes they buy it a bit later on, but it's always nice to be able to time walk in, time dilate, and time walk back out, or just bait spells in general. It gives the hero a lot more options with the way he uses time walk, so we're going to go ahead and give that an A tier shard. Grimstroke shard is pretty much the reason he's getting picked right now. It makes a spell that was previously just for aggression now a save, and you also don't feel comfortable going on the guy that's now ink swelled. So it's an absolutely disgusting shard, and we're going to go ahead and make that the best shard in the game so far. Gyrocopter getting played as a support a lot right now, especially after the Rocket Barrage buff, and his shard is absolutely essential to his kit. He buys it as close to 15 minutes as possible, and it also offers him a ton of kill threat, especially if the opponent does not have BKB yet. We're going to go and put this in the upper echelon of the A tier. Hoodwink shard is overall decent utility, nothing special, but not bad at all. You'll never complain if you get it, so we'll give it a B tier shard. Huskar. His shard is not too bad, but it's nothing amazing, and I'd say what the best part about it is that he can use it while he's disabled, so we'll go ahead and make it an upper C tier shard. The Invoker shard has become much more powerful now that they've reworked it to be making an EMP a little bit of a black hole miniature vacuum, and it's really hard to get away from it unless you have a mobility spell or a mobility item, so we're going to go ahead and put this in B tier because EMP is quite a crippling spell to get hit by. Io shard overall is nice utility, but it's nothing game breaking, and you're not upset to get it, but IOs usually don't buy it on their own, so we'll go ahead and put it in the lower C tier. Jakiro shard is another liquid fire that does health percent based damage to towers as well as to heroes. It's also a mini stun. There's a lot of little things that are nice about this, but Jakiro is already countered by dispels, and this is just another thing to dispel, so it feels like there's oftentimes a better item for Jakiro to buy. We're going to go and put this in lower C tier. Juggernaut shard has been nerfed time and time again. The hero's not seeing much play right now, and he's not even picking this up very often, especially since the shard is not a crucial part of his build anymore. We're going to go ahead and put this in lower C tier. Caldwell shard gives him his recall back. Nice in theory, decent in practice, but overall nothing game breaking. We'll go ahead and put this as a mid-tier C shard. Kunkka shard, even though it's been nerfed, absolutely busted displacement spell. Absolutely essential part of Kunkka's kit. He will buy it every single game. The X into Torrent into Tidal Wave just brings people out of position, makes it really difficult to siege high ground against him. We're going to go and put this as a S tier shard. Legion Commander shard, pretty much never see it bought. Let's just be honest. Who cares? We're going to go and put this in F tier. Leshrac shard. Fights right now are really chaotic. His shard benefits from fights not being chaotic and being stuck in the same place. So overall, not too much Leshrac being played, and his shard is usually not purchased until ultra late game. We'll give this a D tier shard. Its only real purpose is for defending high ground. Lich shard is absolutely essential for him to get solo pickoffs as well as like reliable damage output in the fights because people can't split away from each other like they would normally when he chain frosts. So we're going to go ahead and give this a lower B tier shard since it's solid, but absolutely does not guarantee that Lich will have the impact that he needs. Lifestealer shard, really nice if the opponent has no dispels. It is commonly bought for a carry. A lot of carries don't buy their shards. We're going to put this in lower B tier, but by no means do you buy this every single game. But when you do buy it, it tends to be like a better diffusal. Lena's shard is absolutely essential to her build right now. It makes her spells do oodles of damage, and Lena's getting played as a spellcasting mid right now, and I'm seeing them buy it every single game. So we're going to go and put this in lower A tier because it's not the most game-breaking shard ever, but it's solid and it's purchased every single game. Lion shard, situationally really strong, especially against illusion heroes, but otherwise relatively useless. So it's like A tier, S tier against illusion heroes and otherwise useless. So we'll go ahead and put it in C tier. Lone Druid shard makes it so that him and his bear and all of his allies get bonus attack speed, and it dispels him and his bear. The fact that this hero is usually kited and countered by things that can be dispelled, it just makes this hero so much stronger, makes him super busted for taking towers, all even more so than he was already, and it helps him and his team take Roche. Absolutely broken shard, S tier. Luna Shard now gives her damage reduction, changes the way she plays the game, and some people are buying it as early as 3rd or 4th item, and on Luna that's pretty early because you get items really fast. So I'm gonna go and put this as a solid A tier shard. Lycan Shard is really nice for pushing waves and making it so the opponent's always having to deal with them. And so if the opponent has issues dealing with waves in the first place, then I think that this shard is incredibly broken in those scenarios. So I'm gonna go to put it as a B tier shard. Magnus Shard is not the old horn toss that it used to be. It's still very strong though for its price, as it basically doubles the damage of Shockwave when it comes to targets that don't move like creep waves. So we'll go ahead and give this like a C tier shard. Nothing amazing, but not bad. Marcy Shard, overall, pretty mediocre. Never really seen it have major impact. We'll go ahead and put her in F tier. Mars. His spear now hits 2 targets. Overall, the flaming trail helps you clear creep waves and the extra damage in fights and lets you pin 2 people to an arena. But it's not too often that you're getting a 2-man spear inside of an arena. Not bad utility, but overall, I'd say low B tier. And Medusa Shard doesn't really get purchased until super late into the game, and then it's okay. So I'd give it a upper D tier shard. Meepo Shard right now, combined with his Ags, makes it really hard to focus any of the Meepos down. It's allowing him to be invulnerable like a phase shift from Puck, and he heals up. So the fact that this hero is countered by trying to burst one of his Meepos, Dig is a very important part of his kit, and we'll go ahead and put it in the upper B tier. Mirana Shard, do I need to say more? Doink. Monkey King Shard. Really nice mobility. It's a little awkward to use in terms of like putting it on autocast or not, and sometimes you can get yourself into trouble. So I think there's a skill cap to this shard, which does naturally nerf it. So we'll put it in C tier. Morphling Shard, it's for the noobs, such as myself, the boomers. Overall, not bad. Gives you some stats, but also makes it so in certain matchups, like Faceless Void Chronosphere, for instance, that you're not nearly as afraid of getting bursted, and makes it much more difficult for the opponent to reliably commit onto you at the start of the fight. We'll go ahead and put it in upper C tier. Muerta Shard is especially good against blade mails or other ways of taunting you like Axe and Legion, and just AoE damage that's going to take her down during her ultimate. They usually don't purchase it until later if it's a core Muerta, but I'll say when she does buy it, it's basically a satanic during her ultimate. So we'll give it a lower B tier shard. Naga Shard, don't really buy it until super late game. It's okay, D tier. Nature's Prophet Shard, really strong utility on support Nature's Prophet. A lot of them are buying it pretty early in tandem with their Ags. Just a lot of slow, a lot of damage, a lot of control. We'll go ahead and put it at lower B tier. Necrophos Shard pretty much gets purchased every single game. Lets you rapidly clear creep waves. Gives a hero that's really slow mobility. Need I say more? We'll put it in S tier. Night Stalker Shard, now that it has a longer cooldown and a mana cost, unless you're actually buying mana items like Echo Saber or Ags or something like this, it's an overall pretty underwhelming shard. So since you have to buy other items to make it good, but then it is really good, we'll make it lower B tier. Nick Shard gives him extra burst damage on his ult. I feel like a lot of times if you're hitting people with your ult, you're already going to kill them. So I'd say this shard is a little bit overkill most of the time. So we'll go ahead and put this in C tier. Ogre Shard, pretty underrated shard, I'd say. It's nice, nothing game breaking, pretty solid every game. We'll put it in upper C tier. Omni Knight Shard is essential for core Omni Knight. He buys it every single game as a core. So since he's not always a core, but when he is, he always buys it, we're going to put it in upper B tier. Oracle Shard, pretty powerful, but I feel like Oracle always needs to buy other items. So since Oracle can't really afford to buy this item, but when they get it from the Tormentor, it feels really good, we'll go ahead and put it in B tier. OD Shard, really nice for allowing allies to move around in Astral Imprisonment to get themselves out of trouble. I'd say in certain situations, super good if they can just destroy the person when they come out of it, but otherwise, you don't really buy it until later. So we'll go ahead and put it in C tier. Pango Shard has been nerfed time and time again. Still good in certain matchups, but by no means good in every single game. So we'll go ahead and put it in C tier. PA Shard is amazing for the break mechanic as it helps a lot of her matchups. So because it's super powerful sometimes and not so powerful others, then we're going to put it in B tier. Phantom Lancer Shard, kind of a meme, but in the late game, really powerful just because giving a hero invis without having to use a slot for it is super obnoxious. So we'll go ahead and put it in C tier. Phoenix Shard is super powerful ever since they also buffed Sunray to give mischance. And the fact that you have to hit the egg and it can Sunray during the egg now. So we're going to put that in lower A tier. Probably Shard is really clunky. Doesn't really go with his kit all that well, but it's not terrible. We'll put it in D tier. Puck Shard, decent in some situations, especially when she goes right-click build, but overall not that great. So we'll put it in lower C tier. Pud Shard gives him a save. Certain games, insanely impactful. Other games, you know, you just wish you didn't have a Pudge on your team. So we'll go ahead and put it in lower B tier. Pugna Shard, really good against illusion heroes, but otherwise not so much, so we'll go ahead and put it in C tier. Queen of Pain Shard really allows her to blink in because she now silences the target that she blinks onto. Most games, very good utility. You'll often buy it around like level 20 or so with the timing where you get the Scream of Pain talent. We're going to give her a lower B tier shard. Razor Shard feels like most of the time doesn't make a difference for whether or not you're sticking on them with the link. But if their play is to run away with you with like a hero like Centaur, it is super powerful. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a lower C tier shard. Ricky, pretty powerful shard, but overall, he's either killing you already or he's not. You're going to buy it. It's nice for core Ricky, but it's nothing like the dart used to be. We'll go ahead and give it a upper C tier shard. Rubik Shard has also been nerfed many times, but since it still makes his telekinesis a save on allies, anything that gets your teammates out of trouble on a hero that previously didn't have that is always going to be pretty good. We'll put it in lower B tier. Sand King, not all that bad. He buys it. Nothing game breaking. B tier. Shadow Demon Shard is especially good when the opponent has things that need to be dispelled, like silences, like Spirit Vessel. You have heroes that really rely on you having that. It's even better when he has an Ags. It's solid, even more solid when he has an Ags. We'll put it in lower B tier. Shadow Fiend doesn't really get picked at all right now. Feel like his shard is nice in theory, not that great in practice. We'll put it in lower C tier. Shadow Shaman Shard gives him extra damage when he locks you down, but most notably the ability to clear a creep wave by instantly shackling it and leaving, letting the wards do the job. So it helps him farm, helps him scale, and gives him a little bit extra damage. All around decent utility, lower B tier. Silencer Shard. Good meme. People are going to buy it because they like stealing your int. Probably better in lower MMR brackets, but I hardly ever see it in mine, so we'll put it in C tier. Another shard, good in theory, not that great in practice. Sometimes it seems OP, maybe on core Skywrath, something we don't really see very often right now, so we're going to go and put that in D tier. The Slaughter Shard is straightforward. It's amazing once he gets level 20 because it one-shots creep waves. And a hero that previously has that problem allows him to hunt you down. And then it's also nice to make it so you don't have to pause in order to ult people when you try to burst them. So I'm going to give this an A tier shard. Another shard that's been nerfed many times, still strong, no doubt, giving a save to a hero, or it's something that can also be used selfishly. We're going to go and give this an A tier shard. Underwhelming, but not too bad. Solid all around. We're going to give it a lower B tier shard. One of the best memes in the game. I heckin' love the sound of Concussive Grenade, but overall, pretty mediocre. We'll give it a mid C tier shard. Paired with Blade Mail, Spectre Shard is really strong, but it doesn't feel like there's a natural time for her to buy it, so she ends up usually buying it later on in the game, so we'll go and give it a lower C tier shard. Spearbreaker Shard is much better, I think, on support Spearbreaker, as it redirects a spell to him, and core Spearbreaker doesn't really want to do that for you. I will give it a C tier shard. Storm Spirit Shard is specifically good once he hits level 25. It's very good when you get there, but before that, generally underwhelming. So we're going to give it a B tier because you buy it every single game around that timing, but really not much earlier, if ever. Spin Shard feels weird to buy on a hero that has a lot of timing-based items that he relies on getting. So because it's not bad, and it also counters dispels, which also generally deal with Sven in the first place for making his Warcry reliable, we'll give it a upper C tier. I guess I just don't see Techie Shard being used very often. I also don't see Techies very often. In theory, it's similar to Anti-Mage's Shard, but it's nice because he's a support. So we'll go ahead and give it a lower C tier. TA Shard, really freaking strong. Traps turn into silences. It's sometimes bought as early as 15 minutes on core TA, especially when the TA is mid and snowballing. We're going to give this an A tier. I believe Terrorblade Shard is insanely underrated. I think it's a solid B tier shard, as it gives him a lot of utility outside of his metamorphosis, and it also lets him shred buildings with him and his illusions. Tidehunter Shard gives him pick-off potential, gives him catch, a hero that's previously dealt with by not fighting him, basically wraps all of his kit together in a nice little bundle. Absolutely essential. Buying it as early as 15 minutes. Get it every single game. S tier shard. Don't see Timbersaw's shard too much anymore. I'd say it's decent, especially for killing buildings, but nothing special. We'll put it lower C tier. Let's be honest. I didn't even know what Tinker Shard did before this because I've never seen it. So we'll go ahead and put it in F tier. Tiny, not really getting played in this core role that utilizes his shard right now. So because he's not getting played like that, we'll go ahead and put it in lower D tier. Treant Shard, bought every single game, makes a hero that previously could not set up on you with invis and annoying in trees. Like, it was hard enough to find him when he's not invisible, and now it gives him a root, makes him invisible, really wraps his kit all together. S tier. Troll Warlord Shard, really not all that bad, to be honest. Gives him reliable multi-target damage, and it even works when he's in melee form. So we're going to go ahead and give that a upper B tier. Tusk Shard, it's okay. It buffs his shards, which makes it really fit the lore of this video, but we're going to put it in C tier. I hardly see Underlord at all, and I hardly see them buying Shard if I do ever see them, so we'll go ahead and put his Shard in D tier. When this Shard initially came out, it was absolutely busted, but they have nerfed it several times. Still decent utility in games where the opponent has big ultimates like Black Hole and Chronosphere, and dying turns into this be-all, end-all save. But other than that, not that great, so we'll put it in C tier. Ursa Shard, one of the most essential shards for all carries in the game. Gives him Enrage on his Q. We'll go ahead and put this in A tier. Vengeful Spirit, support or core, likes the shard a lot, but sometimes she has to delay it because she needs other items or hopes to get it from the Tormentor. But you're happy when you get it from Tormentor, as it turns a single target stun into a multi-target stun. We'll go ahead and give this a upper B tier. You'd think Veno Shard is super broken because Dispels are really good against Veno and it punishes you for dispelling, but it feels really awkward with the cast range to get it off. As Veno, I feel like half the time I'm just dying to the person I try to use it on. So we'll put it on lower C tier. Viper Shard's really nice for ending the game, and that's about it. Sometimes it's game-changing in order to do so, but most of the time it's not, so we'll put it in lower B tier. Vicious Shard is really nice because he's a hero that you have to commit onto in order to kill him, and he punishes you if you don't manage to burst him. And since his birds can still kill you during the time that he's in his stone form, I'm going to go ahead and give that a B tier shard. Decent utility, helps him clear creep waves, nothing special. C tier. Seems like this is bought every single game, and it seems like it's just shitloads of damage when it lands, and it also helps even clear creep waves even faster. So we're going to go and give this a lower A tier. I think Weaver core has fallen off a lot this patch ever since the end of TI, but I think his shard is a core part of his kit when he is played as a core with the Deso build. So with that in mind, I'll put it at lower A tier. Another shard that was broken on release, but now it's been nerfed a lot, and I also hardly see Wind Ranger at all, and if it is, it's usually a core Wind Ranger who's not going to buy it, so we'll put this in D tier. This is just a wishy-washy, okay shard. Sometimes it helps you with wave clear, sometimes it hits people. I'm just going to go ahead and give it a C tier. It's a phase shift, it's a Ghost Scepter, it does damage, it's really strong. Witch Doctor's shard is S tier. Wraith King Shard is amazing against heroes that counter him with mana burn. Otherwise, it's not that great, so we're going to put it in B tier. I think Zeus' Shard is absolutely essential to the way the hero likes to play the game nowadays. So what that means for me is that even though it's something you tend to buy after you finish Manta, I think it's absolutely essential to the way he likes to play the game. And so we're going to put him in a upper B tier, maybe would potentially be a lower A tier shard. So we've got our list. I like what I have assembled here today. This is your official BSJ shard tier list for 7.34E. I'd love to hear what you guys think in the comments. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Are you absolutely offended by some of the shard ratings that I've given? I'm not asking you, Suns fan. I already know the Drow Ranger shard is S tier in your opinion. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Like, comment, subscribe. See you guys next time.